Hello, hello. I am here with a very special guest, my client Celine, who recently got married and moved from feeling like insecure, lost, really lost, right? And to like not feeling safe to be vulnerable, to really then feeling secure and most importantly, trusting herself. So if you want to learn more about that today, then stay tuned. So excited to have you here today,
Hi.
Celine. I love it, the lady in red. And Celine, for the women that first of all want to know, I mean, now you're happily married, to the man of your dreams, which I love too, right? No settling, no like, you know what I mean? Second choice, any of that. It was really the man that you really, really desired and wanted. But where were you before you found me, before you found your man? What was happening in your world?
So before, I was trying to date guys, going on a couple of dates, having like the usual story. Oh, he's super nice. Oh, maybe it's gonna work out, and having the guy ghosted me, or after I lost interest, and having all those feelings, triggers, and after it was always ending up in drama, and it was like all the time, every month, every couple of months, the same story. So until the time I was, my God, I mean, there's an issue with me. I mean, it's never working out. And what can I do? And that's when, for some reason, I was listening to a podcast, and you appeared on that podcast. And I was like, okay, let's give it a try. I have nothing to lose.
I love it. Yeah. And, I get how it can be so frustrating when, you feel like, the men are making you all those compliments, right? And I feel like, this time it's going to be different. And then only for them to start acting funny again and out of a sudden withdrawing again and out of the sudden becoming like inconsistent again, which didn't make sense because your friends, I'm sure, were telling you you're the full package and you're catch and all of that, and wondering what's wrong with me, which of course is nothing wrong with you, right? And how did that make you feel, Celine, when you were just going from one reactionship or situationship, I call it, to the next?
But it makes you feel like you're not enough, like all your self-confidence is really taking a hit every time, even though you're playing it cool. Oh yeah, I have this story I didn't tell you. All the girls are laughing, you're like kind of the center of attention, but at the end of the day, you're quite lonely, and you feel like every time, like everything is failing, so you kind of start feeling like a failure again and again, and it starts to like building up at some point when you really lose like the trust in yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And how painful that is, that you're like, wait, it's kind of like when you think about a little girl, right? And you're like, no, you can't trust yourself, right? Like you think you're worthy, but that's not what men reflect back to you. So it's like so painful to have like that disconnection, that contrast between how you think, like how it should be, but then, and I would assume that's why you said like you felt lost, right? Because it's like, wait, I don't understand. Like I think it should feel this way, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? It's like it's the opposite of how I'm being
Yeah,
treated.
exactly, because you feel you cannot trust your emotions, you cannot trust the other person as well, because it always end up in the same situation. So you end up not knowing, like, if your feelings are right, if your intuition is correct about this person, because it felt before, but so maybe now it can be the same, but it's not the same person, maybe it's different type of guy, but you will try to find like the same thing that make it fail before, because you're so on the reaction and you're getting more emotional that at the end of the day you're making it fail anyway.
Totally, right? It's like you start to sabotage it because it's almost like and like where you normally would get excited, right? Because you meet a guy who makes you compliments and a guy who tells you you're his dream girl, right? Like now for you, it means that's what the last guy said. And this is how it always starts. It's like, this is the beginning of the end. Would you say that's about how your journey went, Celine?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And as soon, for example, as a guy is starting like to ghost you or to reply a bit less, and so, like, you know, the energy is like change, and after you get completely but like paranoid.
Yeah, paranoid. Exactly. And then going into analysis paralysis. And then we always say, get into your head, you're dead. Because, like, you know, we're our worst enemy inside of our head, right? Because you don't get into your heart, because that's when you're smart. So you may want to write that down.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But yeah, that's and like how frustrating that can be, right? If you feel like you're kind of like this hamster on a wheel, you're like, I don't, you know, but at the same time, you also know you're smart enough, you know, if you do the same things over and over again, expecting a different result would be, you know, the definition of insanity. So, you know, like if nothing changes, nothing changes. Which leads me to what has changed for you, Celine. I mean, I just kind of gave already a little, you know, gave a little away already, but tell us a little bit about your journey with your man.
So after a couple of years working with you, I ended up on this guy that it clicked quite like straight away. We had a really like good connection. It was very like organic. We were talking, texting, and everything, and very great for a couple of months, until for him it's starting to be like, oh, do I want to be in a married relationship? Like, we're just dating. I mean, we're not married. But for him, it was like a very big commitment. And so here it started again, like the is it happening again? I thought this one was the one. And after he completely like got out of the relationship and he wanted to have some time off, and instead me of just starting texting him or whatever, I was like, but what do I want in a relationship? And it's all the work we've done together. It's just, I mean, I'm not gonna follow this guy for whatever reason. What I've said, I was like, okay, fine. It was during the Christmas holidays and New Year. So I was like, okay, me, I'm going to Dubai. I'm going to see my friends. That, okay. And I was like, I don't want to talk to you. For me, like, we're done. You want to take your time. You want to do your stuff. Fine, no problem. And he was like, but we can still text. I was like, no. I mean, you have to know what you want. Okay, so we don't speak for months. And when I come back to Geneva, I texted him. I was like, I mean, it would be nice to actually talk in person. And when I saw him, it was very nice. And he was like, but, you know, I mean, kind of missed you. I would want to start like the stuff again. Like, I was like, no. If we start again, it's a new relationship. So here, me, what I want, it was about 6 months we were dating. I was like, I want, in a couple of months, we move together. I mean, we're both over 30. We were 31 at that time. And take it or leave it. If you want to go with your friends, if you want to party, do it. But it's not for me, and it's not with me.
Yeah.
And he was like really shocked. I mean, it took him a couple of minutes to process. It took him a couple of weeks as well to process it. But step by step, after we went back on a couple of dates, and the thing is, like, at that time, I was like, you know, I really thought you were the one. And he looked at me, he's like, but you know, I can still be the one. And probably as well in his mind, something changed, because after that time, like all the pressure of having a relationship, living together, it went away. And after we moved together a couple of months after, 6 months later, we were engaged, because something, like, I put my grounds and I hold them.
Yes, so good.
And I was always clear. And that's something I was always scared to do, because I was always scared of losing the person.
And that's like such a big difference, right? That he actually like knew, you know, as one man said, I will treat you like a queen, but you have to know that you are one, right? And in that moment, you were actually like owning what we call the queen in the program, right? Like the archetype of the queen. And how are you feeling now, Celine? You got what you wanted, you know what I mean? You're like, you have a man oohing and ahhing after you, you know what I mean? And like just doing anything for you, and just realizing really that you were the prize, right, all along.
Peace.
How are you feeling?
Yeah. So, but I'm super happy. We're super in love, but I feel really more secure, and I can be 100% vulnerable with him, even if sometimes clearly I'm going to lose it. I don't have all the time the good reactions. I'm getting still triggered, but he accepts them. He accepts me, and I'm feeling 100% safe to be who I am, and also to continue doing the work. And that's a big change, because sometimes you're afraid of like people reaction, that they're not going to love you if you react that way, if you're not 100% yourself. But now, I mean, I'm completely 100% myself, and it accepts me for the way I am. I mean, it can sound a bit cheesy, but it's actually true.
And
Like when
I
you
love that, right? Because already is a myth, right? If you're always thinking, well, I need to be fully perfectly healed first, and I need to, you know, have all my triggers under control. And so I love that you say that, because it's the same is true for my husband and me after 10 years. It's like I still have triggers and all the things, right? So you can have a marriage and you can have the relationship of your dreams, but still have things to work on, but you just work on them together. Would you agree with that?
100%, because like at different time in your life, you're gonna have different triggers and different stuff that are gonna come up, and you're like, but it didn't bother me a couple of months ago.
Yeah, now
And
it's
for
like
some
really
reason now.
like what's happening, right? Wait, there's multiple layers to this. Like, and nobody told me about that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like an
Yeah.
onion. And so speaking of like work, and what would you say are some of the tools that you learned that really helped you in this process of working with me?
So first, like really to regroup when we had the small meditation, when we were like visualizing, and just when it gets a bit too overwhelming, just to take a breath. Okay, fine. And after, it's also all the reaction I have. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, okay, what was that? Oh, maybe that was like the little girl, or I don't think it's him, like his reaction and stuff. I think it came from me, or my reaction is a bit misplaced. Maybe I overreacted. Sometimes I still like, no, it's not my fault. No. And a couple of hours later, I'm like, okay, sorry. Sometimes it takes a bit of time, but it comes. And he knows as well. I will come and actually like tell him, okay, maybe this time I overreacted. You were right. And it's also like the fact that you can actually say that you were wrong, or your reaction was misplaced, and it was completely something that came from you, because you can actually notice it. Maybe sometimes you're not going to notice it during the argument, but maybe a couple of minutes later or hours later, you will. And as you've done the work, you will be able to actually apologize to the person, instead of having this big argument that is just going to blow out at some point. And I think that's the main thing that really helped me.
So what you're really talking about is, right, like really moving from reaction to responsibility, right? Having the space, right? Like we don't have the ability to respond if you don't have the space first, what you were talking about, taking a breath,
Yes.
regrouping, right? Grounding, getting out of your head, right? Getting out of fight or flight. And then you can move out of from reaction into, okay, hold on a second. Now I have a new perspective. Like what's actually really happening here, right? So I hear like that was like a huge shift for you, where you could actually observe yourself and
Yes.
identify, oh, this is like a piece that is for me to own, that is coming from maybe a place where I didn't get my needs met when I was younger, or maybe that is a coping mechanism, or maybe that is a defense mechanism.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
and that's what I love what you're describing, right? Or actually knowing, no, this is actually like, I actually hold him accountable, right? Like this is actually where it's time for me to put on my crown
Yes.
and own my power, right? And what have you learned about that in the program that gave you that kind of strength? Because I can already see a woman watching this and being like, this is terrifying what you just said. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, so where did you take that strength from?
I think it's like when you start knowing better yourself, and when you put your ground the first time and you see that the outcome is not that bad, and when you put it the second time, but always when you have real grounds, like when you're true to yourself, not for the sake of argument, but every time you see that when something from your heart matters and you put your ground, it builds up and your confidence in yourself as well. So it makes you just feel a lot more secure with yourself and your reaction, not only with the other person, but it's just every time you want to put grounds, it's out of desperation almost. But now you have your grounds, and you put your grounds because you have the good thing, like the roots that you have built. So it comes from a totally different place, and you can feel it as well, like step by step, how you grow. And when you have stuff that matters to you, it changes everything.
It's so good, right? And it's like, I'm just like saying that because I know how you were when we had our first conversation, and to think that you're going to actually put your foot down, so to say, your stiletto down, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? With a man that you actually like really, truly, deeply care about, right? But like able to unmerge in that moment and own your own, like hold your own in the relationship, right? And one thing that I always say is the most dangerous thing is to be in the middle of the road. And so what is like one thing that you would tell women who are like on the fence of, working with a dating coach period, or potentially working with me? Like, what is something that you would advise them, Celine?
I mean, you can do it alone, but the thing is, like, you will never have like the advice and the way you talk to people and the way you make people feel, and you see a different perspective in every story I was telling you, for example. And if I wouldn't have like this other perspective, I mean, I would never have been able to actually be from where I was to where I am now, because I would not have had this different view on things that now I can have. So, I mean, you can do the work yourself, but it's going to take so much time. And the thing is, like, for us, it took a year or two, but it's amazing. And it's a work that is going to last forever. And after, you can apply it to all the stuff in your life, work, relationship with friends, love in general. And you will see like all your relationships are changing because it's just you are changing. And I think that's what matters, because it's all about you and not about everybody else.
Totally. And that's like a big piece, right? It's like actually to remember that, like, it's like you actually see, once you're fully owning yourself, that you actually see, wow, there's different perspectives and everyone has different experiences. And there was something around the fish. Do you want to share that story with us, Celine, in the very beginning of your relationship? There's something with a fish where you got that really brought something out for you. Do you want to share that with the women? Because I think like a lot of women will relate to that.
For the fish.
Yeah.
So we got fish. And it was the first thing like we got when we moved in. And I mean, it was really like taking care of someone else, right? And he was so like, he's still so intense with those fish. He gives them food, he's taking care of it, like, it's like kind of like nurturing the relationship. As me, I was like, what, fish? Okay, I still forget to give them food. So
but good, it still worked out, you know what I mean?
Yes, but see, like we're taking care of the fish, like both of us. But it's the way as well. Like different people are gonna give you different type of love and different attention, and I mean, from different situations, from everything. I mean, it changes, and so you can't. So different people will have different needs and of being loved, but the thing is, like, it doesn't matter if they don't love you. You just have to share it, like, and that as well, I think, is a big part.
Totally. And I feel also the fish story really showed that, wow, there was like a blind spot that you had, right? And of course we could like work on that, that there was actually a fear of like, emotional intimacy, or like somebody relying on you, or someone being nurtured, right? Like, but you never knew that because you never had gotten that far
Mm.
with a man, right? So like the fish brought out something where you're like, oh, I had no idea that I would have this reaction towards it. And so that's the thing, right? Like that's why I feel like we have blind spots that we're not aware of. But then would you say, like, looking hindsight, connecting the dots backwards, you're like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense why I didn't attract the right man before, and why I attracted my man in the beginning, who, was not so much in love with the idea of commitment, because there
Yeah.
was maybe something inside of myself that I wasn't even aware of.
Yeah, 100%. But I think, like, we had the click from the beginning, and after we grow together until the moment he had to clash. And I think is the best thing that happened to us, because now when we look back at it, it made us stronger. And we know that, like, we overcome this part that was literally a big part in commitment for both of us.
Totally 100%,
And
and that's what I love. Like, you guys were like so this mirror image. And I love, like, you had the most beautiful engagement, like in Positano, right? Like, how was that for you, Selena, when you were just like not
I,
not expecting anything, just thinking it's a beautiful night in Italy, having dinner.
it was amazing. I mean, it was we were talking about it, but it was still not expecting. I was not expecting this at that time, and I was really shocked. I mean, it took me a couple of hours to get excited and to understand that it was really happening. Um, but I mean, when someone that you love is doing this commitment, and especially is making his commitment, and especially after, like, all the things we've been through and all the work I've done, I mean, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's like the whole process, it leads to something even better. And
Yeah.
I mean, I always heard, like, if you trust the process, uh, as soon as you start trusting yourself, everything comes to place.
What's really so inspiring about this is, like, again, you got like your dream engagement, you stayed with it, you kept your heart open, you communicated your needs, you communicated your expectations without resentment, without emasculating the man, right? Like, so knowing how to do it, right? How to hold your own, while also continue to motivate him, encourage him to pursue you, right? Like, so we want to have that piece of the heart open. And so anything else that you want to share with the women who are out there, who are fishing in the sea, so to say? I know we talked about the fish, that's so funny. But anything that you want to leave the women with, who are watching this right now, who feel like maybe very similar, at the end of the rope in a
Yeah.
way, right? Like, tried it all, and like, it's the same man with a different face.
But I think it's like, you have to learn yourself and you have to trust yourself. I know it can sound a bit lame to say this, but as soon as you start loving yourself and trust your intuition, because we have a tendency of not following our intuition and just following what people are saying, and we don't feel it anymore. But I think if you start doing the job, and especially with you, you're amazing, everything fall into place. It might take a couple of months and years, but it's something you're going to have with you for all your life. And it's a work that, I mean, it's priceless.
Oh, I just love that. And I'm so happy for you, Celine. And we're so excited to, you know, you already had your first wedding. I'm super excited for your big official wedding at the end of this. God, I can't wait like to see the photos. Like it's gonna be amazing.
Yes.
And you guys get married in Italy, is that what you said?
Yeah, in Italy, in Santa Margherita, next to Portofino.
Oh, beautiful. Like it's going to be stunning photos. So yeah. So again, like congratulations on your wedding, you know, meeting the man of your dreams, right? And like just really matching, like you're already successful in your business life and to actually matching your romantic life, your love life with that, right? So everything comes like full circle for you.
Yeah,
Celine.
no, exactly.
Oh, awesome. So good. Yeah, if you're watching this, you're like, gosh, I want to be the next Celine. Like, this is me. I'm constantly attracting those men who dangle the proverbial carrot in front of my nose and only to drop me like a hot potato the next day. And I don't know why. I don't know why they're pulling back. There must be something that I don't know, right? And it's maybe blind spots that, like Celine revealed, you may have as well. Then take my free Magnetize Your Man quiz at mymquiz.com. And at the end, you'll be having an opportunity to have a chat with me. We have a little chat, see what's happening, a little love chat, so to say, and see if we can support you on your journey. Well, Celine, thank you so much for being here today. You are the best. You deserve the best. And I'm looking forward to hearing how this journey unfolds for you.
Thank you.
All right, lots of love. Mwah.